Okay, I think we don't
And
need to...
we're live.
To pay a lot of attention to the camera, just...
That's there, cool. Easy.
Okay, Jesse, do you remember that feeling when you have been first time riding a kiteboard? Has this been a life-changing moment to you?
Absolutely. I was, would have been 9 years old.
Okay.
My brother and I were just learning how to do it, and we had 2 line kites on Maui.
Really?
He was 3 years older than me, and there were 2 defining moments. One was when we were in this field just like flying the kite for probably the first week, and I sent it and just got picked up maybe 10 feet and just flew across this field and cartwheeled and tumbled, and my dad comes running over and I was just sitting there like, whoa, that was cool. And that was when I was like, I want to do this. And probably close to 6 months later, we were just flying the kite on the beach the whole time. Then my brother and I started to go in the water, and we just could not figure it out. And my brother got up and went, and he looked at me and was like, Jesse, this is gonna be hard. Like, it's not easy, man.
Okay.
But I remember the first time just up riding, I was like, okay, it's on.
You have been 9 years old at that time. So what year was
That
it?
was 2002.
And you were still on 2-liners. Okay.
Well, they didn't have, we're in Maui, so it's windy. So it's like, we got the 1.5 and a 2.5 Naish 2-line kite.
Okay. Great.
And those were the kites. That was like, the 2.5 was my kite.
That sounds really crazy. So you mentioned you started kitesurfing with 9 years. As far as I know, you started competing with 14 years in 2006. So just 2 years later, you were world champion. That's really amazing. From today's point of view, did this title change anything in your mindset or in your whole life?
Absolutely. I started, my first events were in like 2003 and 2004. They were like smaller kiteboarding events, and I remember looking at all of the pros, being like, I want to be those guys one day. Like, that was like my childhood dream, was I want to be like one of those guys. And
who had been these pros back in 2000?
That would have been at the King of the Air in Maui.
Yeah.
And that was Adam Cook, that was Leishai Miller, that was Mark Shin.
Okay.
Looking at these guys, they were like the first generation of kiteboarders, and they were just crazy. Like, they just had fun the entire day. And I was like, I like that. That's what I want to do. And it was really trippy to then, a few years later, be on the world tour and traveling with a bunch of friends. And there was less of the older generation and more of the younger generation coming up. So we were all kind of new to it. And the first year I did the full tour, I won it. And I remember waking up the next morning like, oh, life's the same. Like, nothing changed. Like, no, there's no magical rainbow over my bed now. It's just like, it was cool, but nothing changed. So that kind of helped me figure out that it really is about the journey. It's not about the destination. Like, we have today, and yes, let's go towards this goal. Okay. But enjoy today, because it's going to be the same tomorrow.
This sounds really interesting. I have heard this saying very often in the last few years. To enjoy the journey.
Absolutely.
You have really done some crazy stunts in your life. I just remember you were the first dude who got buried in Jaws. And that wave in Nazareth last year in December looked really, really tough and really scary to me. Is there any crazy wave left you want to go for?
Oh, endless.
Really?
Endless. Absolutely.
Where'd you go else?
Well, it's different. Like, Nazaré is probably the tallest wave in the world. or the tallest wave that I've seen. There is a wave Cortez Bank. That's 100 miles off the coast of California, and that looks terrifying, but it looks really cool. It's a massive wave. What I probably want to do next though is find a really big barreling right. So Jaws is incredible just because it holds itself so good, and you can get barreled, but it's not a wave that is like consistently barreling like Indonesia has, or like Fiji. You go to Fiji, pretty much every wave is barreling. So there's a few waves, and there's Ponape Pass. There's a few waves in Ireland. There's waves everywhere. There's a few waves in Tasmania, ship sterns.
Yeah.
Looks wild, but you can kite them.
I've heard from really good conditions in Ireland, but
yeah.
I've never been there.
There's Mullaghmore, which is a famous, really big wave that just, they're maybe not as tall as Nazare, but you look at the amount of water in them and it's terrifying.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my goal with the waves, is to get scared and do something that nobody's done, or just find a wave that's really awesome to ride.
Really crazy. So, bringing yourself so far away from your comfort zone is not just a physical thing. So what is going on your mind when you are in front of such waves, and you are doing, are you doing any meditation to get prepared for that?
Well, I mean, that's like the neurochemistry, like the chemical reaction in our brain when we put ourselves in situations that get us scared is incredible. And it's like, that's what different athletes will have different experiences with. And it's like that's always my drug of choice. That's what I want, is the feeling of being a little bit scared, because not only does it like I train for that, trying to find that same experience without the fear, without the risk. But when you actually are in that situation where you have fear, you have real risk, it helps me come to a place of total concentration.
Okay.
Where, you know, it's like, I don't care if my bills have been paid or not, I don't care if the girlfriend's calling, I don't care what's going on over there, my family could be asking for something, there's a photographer, no, nothing matters. Because your immediate decisions are gonna affect potentially whether you live or die. So all of that stuff that you think matters doesn't. It comes down to that moment, and that's when you have that focus, you perform the best you can perform, because you're giving it everything you have.
Okay.
So like out here at King of the Air, for example, my first heat, I felt like I rode good, but I didn't have that drive of it's live or die. And in the second day of competition, I was like, no, I'm going out there and I am going to ride like it's the finals. I'm going to ride like my life depends on it. And I was like, I don't care if I'm going to go and break my legs. I'm going to do this. And that fear of, okay, if I screw up now, there's huge consequences, gave me the focus to start landing tricks that were bigger than I was doing before.
Yeah, I heard you saying that before already. And
so it's fear is my fuel.
Okay. Yep. Sounds tough.
Well, I mean, it's tricky, because fear is there for a reason. Like, you know, I'm not going to jump off the top of the building because I'm scared to do that because I know I'll die. I'm like, okay, don't do that. So it's a good guide. Like, if you're really, really scared, then it's probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
But if you just find that right amount where you're like, I'm scared, but I know I can perform, you where basically they say where the challenge is fit for your ability. So it's pushing you, but you know you can do it. That's where I like to be.
Great answer. Let us talk a little bit more about your training. How many hours are you daily on the water, and how many hours are you training outside the water? Do you have any training routines, like what you are doing every day?
I try and have every morning start with waking up, doing a little bit of like, I have mindset training, so just things that I read, things that I listen to in the morning that are all pretty much kind of self-motivation, where you look at it and you're like, yes, this is what I'm going to do today, this is how I'm going to do it, and this is why I'm going to do it, and just reaffirming why I'm here today. Then I'll do a 15-minute little stretch routine. And then every day is kind of different because I'm always kind of traveling, or I always have like, I'm training for King of the Air, or there's a Jaws day, or it kind of gets crazy, but I can't actually fall asleep if I haven't done at least a few hours of physical activity. Okay. So in the day I'll look to do 2 to 3 hours in the gym, probably two hours in the gym, and maybe a few hours on the water.
All right. So every day in the week, or maybe kind of...
In the gym, I'll be when I'm at home training, it'll be 5 to 6 days a week in the gym.
All right. Oh, that's a lot.
I mean, especially for this stuff, it's cool to see when you make that progress. And if you go 1 or 2 times a week, you can maintain, but you maybe don't make the progress. Yeah. So training for King of the Air, I'm like, no, I want to make progress every week, and it's hard because you have to work so hard for such a little bit of progress.
Yeah, got it. If you go for a kiteboarding session, are you always focused on your training, or are there also these fun sessions when you go out with your friends and just let it go?
I like to ride dependent on the conditions. So if it is really strong, and how I feel. Okay. If it's really strong and I don't feel good, I'm not gonna go out.
Yeah.
But if I feel good, then I'm gonna look at the conditions and be like, what's gonna be the best thing I could do today? Okay. And if going and riding waves with friends is on, then I don't bring a camera, I don't worry about the GoPro. I'm like, the wave that nobody can see because it's way far on the outside, that's where we're gonna go, and we're gonna ride, and it's gonna be the funnest time ever.
All right.
But if it's big air training, or if there's a good swell and I know there's a photographer in the right place, then I'm gonna try and focus on getting some photos, and it's nice, it's a good feeling to go out and be productive, so to come in and know I got photos from that session, like, that's helping me progress towards my goals. But in the last few years, I've also realized, like, no, it's also about really having fun. Like, for a while there, I was only focused on getting photos, getting videos. Like, okay, let me come in, let me write this stuff down, let me work with this sponsor, let me test this gear. And then I was like, I just had so many sessions where I'm like, no, this is just fun. Like, I just want to have fun. And
so not just strictly follow the line.
No, it's a total balance of everything. Yeah. And I like every style of kiteboarding. I like foiling, I like strapless freestyle, I like strapless. Actually, I don't really like strapless freestyle, but I like foiling, strapless riding, big air riding, freestyle riding. So I'll go to the beach and I'm like, this is what's going to be perfect today. That's what I want to do.
Okay, all right. We are really interested in what else you think is our questions. Everybody knows you are going with Naish kites since you have started kiteboarding. How much are you involved in developing new stuff?
Mm-hmm. Well, not entirely true. I rode for Cabrina for 6 years.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
I started with Naish, I rode for Cabrina for 6 years, and then I switched back to Naish in 2010.
Ah, okay.
So when I was competing, I was with Cabrina, and both companies are great. The reason I've been with both those companies is they're on Maui. Yeah. I know Pete, I know Robbie, they're both really good guys. Yeah. So being with that company that you can connect with on a local basis is huge. Just being able to go into the office, and with Naish, it's been a really fun ride. They're a bunch of great guys, and it's such a family that I can't say like I'm involved with one aspect of the company. It's just you're a part of the family. Okay, what's our project today? Okay. So it's a pleasure. I work a lot with the R&D department on most of the new gear, and it's a challenge. Kiteboarding is a challenging thing because right now our gear, everything works. Like we're at a point now where it's not an obvious, this needs to get better. Yeah. Everything works pretty well. So it's going to take a lot of extreme innovation to really find something different and new. And the foiling's been fun because that's been new and fresh, and every day you find out more and more.
Yeah.
But across the kite side, it's just been thinking outside the box now. So we're trying crazy ideas, working with the designers to like see that the biggest innovation I think that we had was the new material.
Okay.
So the Naish material is the strongest material on the market.
You mean especially the quad-tex?
The quad-tex, yeah. And what was cool to see was that not only, like, I'm always looking for a very stiff kite.
Okay.
When your kites get old, you can feel they kind of like are loose and baggy, and especially in strong winds, that's the last thing I want. I want to know my kite's rock solid, it's going to do what I want it to do. And the material has done such an amazing job of kind of bringing you more of a stiff, direct feel.
Do you think also with this stiff feeling, does the lines also?
So we just changed our lines just right now to a brand new line.
Yeah, you were right, in 2018.
Yeah. And we had some issues with our old line stretching, which was cool. It did give like I've been testing both here. One, your kite feels a little bit like there's a little bit of spring in it, which is nice. And the other one, it's just like locked. And it's pretty interesting. I like this feeling of the stiff lines more, just because once again it's more direct.
Yeah.
So it's
more aggressive.
More aggressive, but it's still like I went out yesterday foiling on the Boxer.
Okay.
So mellow, so chill, just because that kite's built to be mellow and chill, and you ride, you're like, this is fun.
Yeah.
And then I go on the Pivot or on the Torch, and it's like, it's that direct feeling that I want. So I like that now we can tune our gear for what we're looking for.
Yeah.
And me, I want the stiffest, like, most aggressive setup that I can get, and that's what my kites do. But it's cool, like I'll send my dad out, who's 71, and I'll send him out on my pivots.
Yeah.
And I'll just change the knots a little bit. I'll change the settings to be on the softer setting, and he's good. Like it works perfect. So it's.
I rode the Pivot last year, and I've got it this year in 6 square meters to go into the waves, and in 9 and 12 I'm going for the dash, do some little freestyle. I'm not into it like you. I'm just. But I love the kites all at the moment. They're really
awesome.
Really good.
They're fun kites.
Yeah, I love the Pivot a lot for foiling, especially in Austria. You know, with this 8-9 knots.
Have you tried the Boxer?
I have tried it once. But the all-over thing is better on the Pivot for me.
Interesting. In light wind, I like the Boxer just because the kite's lighter.
Yeah.
So if like the Pivot kind of gets down to the side of the wind and it's like, no, come up. The Boxer will naturally fly up because it has one strut as opposed to 3. Yeah. So it'll get above your head a lot easier.
Okay. But you're right, I haven't tried the Boxer with foiling.
Okay.
Just tried it on a twin tip, I think.
It works for twin tipping, and like we're definitely like pushing it as an all-around kite because you can. But for me, I'm only gonna ride if I'm foiling, and for foiling, it is like I don't want to foil unless I have my Boxer now.
Yeah, try it.
Yeah. Especially if you're doing it, like anytime you do like your rolls or your tacks, it will sit, since it's lighter, it'll sit a little bit more above you.
Okay. So
when you bring your kite up above you, you get that pull straight up, as opposed to like kind of in front of you, so it makes all of your turns and jives easier.
Okay. Yeah, I have really problems with that.
Yeah. You should try it, you'll like it.
Yeah. Which setup do you prefer the most at the moment when it comes to a wave session? Okay, really.
Very simple. I like the Pivot.
Yeah.
I love the harness with the slider rope. Right now I'm on the ride engine harnesses with the slider rope, and then I'm on my 5/8 global.
Okay. Why do you prefer the Pivot
to the Slash?
Yeah.
2 different styles. The Slash is built so that you can kind of park your kite and you can ride the wave. So if you move the bar, it has a direct feel, but it's built to just kind of be there and you don't need to think about it. And I feel like that's great, especially if I was going to give a surfer who's getting into kiting a kite, I would give them the Slash. Because it's simpler, it's easier, they don't need to think about the kite, they know how to surf, that's all they have to do. If somebody's been flying their kite for a long time, then I feel like they kind of enjoy knowing exactly where their kite is, and they know they can think 3 steps ahead. So they're like, I'm gonna bring my kite here because I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna put it here. And that's the way I think with my kite is it's a game of chess. And if I screw up a turn, it was not what I just did, it was what I did way back there. And my pivot, I know, I love the way the thing flies. I've been flying that since it came out, so almost probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Something like this, yeah.
And it just has a very direct feel. So when I'm on a wave, I'm constantly moving my kite. And that's what I want. I want it to be like a touch, I move the bar this much, I feel the kite move.
Yeah, you're right, I love it as well.
That's my favorite kite that I've ever tried as a pivot.
From the overall experience, yes, absolutely. I tried to do a little bit unhooking last year with the pivot. It's not
That's
working.
a challenging kite to unhook with.
Especially for me as a unhooked beginner.
For sure.
So it's much more nice on the dash, but I tried the dash also with foiling, and it's much more harder.
Absolutely. The dash has a lot of power. I mean, for now the guys using that for freestyle a lot, and it works well.
Yeah, really, absolutely.
It works well.
When it comes to skills, some of the pro riders are fantastic in freestyle or waves or kite loops. But in your case, it seems you're doing everything really on an outstanding level. What are you doing different to other kite surfers?
I mean, that was one of the things that I loved about competing early on was we had an overall tour winner. And that was like, I saw that, I was like, yes. Because there'd be some riders that go out for the freestyle heats and then they'd come in and they're like, okay, well the wave riding's happening, so I'm just gonna chill on the beach. I'm like, no, I wanna be out there when it's freestyle, I wanna be out there when it's waves, I wanna be out there when it's racing. Like why would I wanna sit on the beach?
Don't know as well.
And so it kind of comes back to when I go down to the beach, I look at it, I'm like, the waves are firing, I'm not gonna do freestyle.
Yeah.
But if you go there, you're like, the kickers are perfect, the waves aren't that good, it's perfect, like, freestyle conditions, yes, let's go. So, I don't know, I feel like you know, if we aren't adaptable to our surroundings, we're not gonna have a good time.
Yeah.
If you adapt to your surrounding, it's always gonna be fun, you're always gonna figure it out. And that's what I want to do with my kite sessions is I want to go out there and ride whatever conditions are the best.
So everything about fun.
Pretty much, yeah. Like
Red Bull King of the Year just finished and Kevin Langerick took home the crown. It was a great show again and your performance was the most aggressive of all riders. What do you think about the judging this year?
Well, it was interesting. I've been looking back at all the footage and watching the live stream again, and it's hard. Like, we're continuing to evolve the way that they judge, what scores the highest. Pretty much every year the criteria has changed a little bit because we're trying to figure out what the best format for big air kiteboarding is. And I mean, it looked to me like there were a few scores that might have been off this year, but it's not that the judges are biased or they're not wrong, they're not doing something that they don't think is right. It's just the systems that we have in place might favor different tricks over others.
Yeah.
But I mean, pretty much I didn't see a heat that I would have given a different result.
Okay.
My final heat I could have seen a different result, but that's me being biased. But for most of it, I feel like I would have probably given different scores, but the result was correct.
Yeah.
And now it's just kind of gonna take all of us looking at that and analyzing what we want to push.
Okay.
So I don't want to see this turn into a kite loop show. I want to make sure we're doing a big variety of tricks in the heat.
Yeah.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Thank you very much.
So for me, the trick variety is a really big thing that I want to see, because if we just do the same trick over and over, then it once again becomes boring, which is the whole reason we're doing King of the Air. And it's different from doing the freestyle World Tour, is because it's not boring, it's exciting. But repetition becomes boring, so how do we keep everything new and fresh and different and exciting is kind of what I think the challenge should be.
But do you think with this kind of judging, is there any possibility that a rider wins with wearing boots?
For sure, absolutely. I mean, I didn't do a board off.
I was waiting for it, actually.
I didn't do a board off. One, because it doesn't excite me.
Okay.
I mean, they're cool. I have no issues with them. I think they're awesome. And I used to do some board offs, but that was never what like I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
For the handle passes, I'm like, that's what I want to do. I want to be the monkey hanging from this kite and do the craziest, biggest handle passes ever. And there was one photo from this event that really made me feel good. Going into the second day, I was like, I don't care about the contest. I don't care about anybody out there. I want to do one thing. I want to do two things. One is I want to do the highest handle pass that anybody's ever seen. And I maybe didn't do the highest one, but I feel like I did some really crazy passes, and I was happy with that. I did one handle pass to the down loop. I was like, well, that was terrifying. And there was another trick that I did in my first heat on the second day, which was the kite loop double half cab.
Yeah.
That it didn't totally work, but I had a vision of, like, I've had this image in my head of being horizontal with my kite there, upside down, arms spread wide, looking back at the crowd and at the tower, just like, yes, this is epic. And I gotta show you this photo just because it literally, I've had this vision for, probably 2 or 3 years now. And I was like, you know what, I don't care what happens today, that vision's gonna come true. And when this photo, let's see, where is it? Oh, there was a better angle of it, but this was one of the angles. This was a second later. Yeah. There was one where my arm was more sideways, and it's not perfect, but it was going out there, and it was like, okay, I tried. Like, I kind of landed it, not totally, kind of exploded on the landing, but it was just that vision of looking backwards at the crowd in that moment, and doing that was like a dream come true. And that, for me, that's why the day was a success, was I did the two things I wanted to do.
I always ask myself, if I see tricks like that, if you really can think during such tricks and not just being focused on what you do, or I would just be scared if I would be in that position.
Well, it's one of those things where you don't land the trick when you land the trick. You land the trick in the years that you put into that trick, and right as you take off, pretty much, that's why like finding the right kicker is so key, and that's why this new spot is super challenging, because it's all about finding the right ramp. If you find the right ramp, right as you leave the water, it's like setting your course. You've already set your course. There is nothing you can really do to change it. That is your trick. So if you set it up right, you've landed it before you leave the water.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
So, yeah.
So that trick was all right as I'm going into it. If I go into it right and I go off the water with the right kick, I've landed it. I didn't have the perfect kick on that one, so that's why I was like over-rotated, did an extra rotation. I'm like, okay, here we go. But midair, it's not something where you can adjust. You're kind of just like, okay, seeing what's happening, and okay, I can make little micro adjustments, but as a whole, not really. It's whatever you send yourself off with. So to answer your question, I feel like we still have a long way to go to find the correct format for King of the Air, but it's cool to see us changing and evolving as we go, and I think that all of the riders now have a good idea of what they want to see and what they want to do.
Yeah.
And I think the job of the riders, cool, thank you. Beautiful. Perfect. I think the job of the riders and the organization is to continue to incentivize people to do something new.
Yeah.
If we get into this, okay, this is what scores high, this is what you have to do, then we're gonna continue to see repetition. It's gonna go down that boring path. If we just make sure that everyone looks at it and is like, how do I do the newest, craziest thing? So that then it kind of would bring it back to the old days where we go out here and it's like, I don't know what people are gonna do. And everyone has their own special little tricks. That's what I think is gonna be cool. And it's a challenge to judge that.
Yeah.
Really challenging to judge that because you're like, well, the kite loop board off is sick, but the kite loop double half cab is sick, but that big handle pass is sick. So it's a challenge to judge.
Yeah. I got a few pictures of your heats as well, and you had the kite that low. It's really crazy to me.
Oh. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So I mean, I took 20-meter lines now, so that helped a lot with getting the kite lower.
Yeah.
But then you take the trade-off and you're probably not gonna go as high, which is hard because it's like, I look at it and that was like, probably wasn't the best year to do that because they scored a huge amount on height.
Yeah.
More so than in the past, I believe.
I think so, yeah. It was the first time 70% height and 30% extremity.
Which isn't the correct term. It is 70% height plus extremity. So that's a combination. And then that extra 30% is basically your style in it. So how you land it. Basically, if you land it clean, you're gonna get much better points. If you look controlled and smooth the entire time, you're gonna get better points.
Yeah.
But the majority of the trick is height plus extremity.
I think so, yeah. You're right.
But I think they gave height, like, if it doesn't go high enough, we're not even gonna look at it. Which is hard because I'm like, I wanna do a kite loop pedal pass, but it's almost impossible to go much higher than maybe 10, maybe 12 meters is like really, really hard. Where you can do a big kite loop at 15 or 20 meters a lot easier.
Yeah.
So then when you're looking at it, you're like, that 20-meter kite loop is getting bigger points than the 12-meter kite loop panel pass, but the 12-meter kite loop panel pass is way harder. Okay, well for me that's a little sad because I'm like, now I'm going for something that is easier that's gonna get scored higher.
But I think from my point of view it's also a kind of a Red Bull thing because they know the more height the riders get.
More impressive it's for the viewers.
For the crowd,
Yep.
Yeah.
Good point.
And that's the thing, I think. Because the handle passes, nobody knows how hard it really is.
Yep.
Because nobody can do it.
Yep.
Really.
Shall we take a break?
It's cool. I can eat and go. I'm not too stressed.
You were competing the King of the Air on your Naish torch. Do you think it would have been a better idea to go on the pivot like Kevin?
If I wanted to jump higher, the pivot's gonna jump higher, I think. But I can't unhook on the pivot. The pivot has so much power, and if you're hooked in, it is incredible. Way more fun to ride. You can control more power, just because you can depower it more, so you can hold down more power in your kite to get higher.
Yeah.
But for unhooking, which is what I love to do, the torch is the way.
Yeah. All right. There were many excellent riders on the list for this year's King of the Air. The level was very high, higher than ever before. Who do you think was the most badass rider in this competition besides you?
I mean, that's a challenging question. I'm probably most impressed with Liam's performance. because it's the first time he's done King of the Air, and he is a freestyle rider. He is one of the best freestyle riders in the world. Unbelievable. Like, watching him do freestyle is incredible.
Yeah.
And to see him just switch gears and jump into, okay, now I'm going to do King of the Air, was really, really cool, because that shows me, unlike the rest of the Freestyle World Tour, he's willing to adapt. He's willing to go out there and go big, which comes back to the style that I really appreciate of, it shouldn't be the rider that's the best in that one discipline. We should be doing it all. I mean, you don't need to, but that's what I like to do. So I was really stoked to see Liam get second.
Yeah, Liam made the landings really look very easy and smooth.
Which is not easy, man. That was. It may look easy, but he crushed it.
Yeah.
But I was also impressed by the French Anthony Rachet.
Absolutely, unbelievable.
Pro rider.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
That was.
Yeah.
I mean, every single person out there was riding good. But for me, Liam was the most unexpected.
Yeah. As you are having breakfast, the right question. Do you pay attention to a special diet and nutrition? We won't show you.
Absolutely. I'm gonna order waffles with whipped cream, just so you know, too. No, I mean, I have a pretty simple diet, which is try and eat healthy. I've tried different diets, and I don't like attaching myself to one thing where I need to eat this to be happy. Obviously, every day I'm like, I look at food and I'm like, how will that help me?
Okay.
So I try not to think, I really want that. I'm gonna think, how am I gonna feel afterwards, and how is it gonna help my body?
Okay.
So usually I'll opt for avoiding sugar and avoiding a lot of carbs. Pretty much just protein and fats is what I try and base my diet off of. At home I have a few avocado trees at my house, so literally I'll just eat 2 or 3 avocados a day, a lot of coconut and meat.
Okay.
But everything, like, I'm not gonna eat food unless I know it's really, really high quality food.
It's very easy to do this nutrition standards at home, but while you are traveling,
Incredibly hard.
Yeah.
I mean, even down to like sitting on a flight where you're like, I'm just hungry, and you're looking at the food, you're like, that's probably not gonna help me, but I'm hungry, and it's kind of that balance of, okay, I'll have a few things here, but maybe that I always travel with a big bag of nuts, with all my little snacks, with my fruit bars, with my snack bars, with enough to get by, to have my body get by.
Yeah.
But it's, I don't know, I mean, I can eat a McDonald's burger and I'll be fine, but I'm not going to, I'm not gonna want to.
Yeah.
It's just, if we're really drunk one night and we go to McDonald's, yes, I want to be able to. I want to have a strong enough stomach that I can eat whatever I want whenever I want it. But every opportunity, or whenever I have the choice, I'll always try and go for the healthiest option.
Yeah. Can understand that. That's a bit funny question. On social media, we saw a few pictures of you wearing very colorful and quite extraordinary shirts and trousers after King of the Air. Is it any special designer you stick to, or? I like to wear things that make me feel good. Okay.
So if I'm out kiting, it's how I ride that makes me feel good. If I'm hanging out with friends, I'm always gonna try and do things that make other people feel more relaxed. So try and just get people out of this, oh, I need to act this way, I need to be like this, and I'll be the first one to get silly because I'm like, no, it doesn't matter, let's have some fun.
Yeah.
So if I wear clothes that people are like, who are you? I'm like, we're gonna have a fun conversation, because instantly, you know, I'm not a serious businessman. I might be, but right now, I'll have any sort of conversation with you, but let's have it be an abstract conversation, not, hi, how are you doing? Oh, you're doing well. Oh, look at the weather. You're like, no, let's talk about something out of this world right now. How would it be to go to space? That's a cool question. Stuff like that, where we can really think outside the box, and doing something as simple as putting on tie-dye pants, and people are going to treat you differently. So it's fun. It's more fun.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I have to think about that. I read this one, I think on your Instagram channel. Is there a serious competition between Nick and you? You called it on Instagram a chess game when he did this toe up here in Capetown earlier this year or end of last year?
It's an ongoing thing with Nick, where we both look at life in a very similar way. And we look at what we can do with a kite in a similar way. So when we travel around here, we don't look at Table Mountain and think, wow, it's a beautiful mountain. We think, I wonder if I could jump off of that. How would it work? Where would I stand? And we start calculating it out. And it's like, I'd love to do more than I do. Both of us would love to every day go out there and do something crazy, but we're still at the phase where if we do something wrong, we could die. Yeah. So for us to do these crazy things, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of prep, it takes a lot of understanding exactly what's going to happen and how to prevent ourselves from having something bad go wrong. So it's a challenge, but with Nick it's fun because I have a partner in this game of, okay, I'm going to do this, you're going to do that, and it's hard, man. He's really good, and he is really skilled, and he jumps high, he does a toe up. Well, watch this, I'm gonna go higher. But it's, you know, it's like any kind of rivalry. You get pushed by the people you have around you. So without him, there'd be no pressure to do another toe up. Now, it's on.
Have you got anything, any idea already?
So there's two things I'd like to do this year. One would be a way to beat Nick. I'm not gonna tell you how I'm gonna do that, you'll see. But it's going to be using a different craft.
Okay.
And another is, there is a very large cliff that I see that just looks beautiful. And it might be a way to be in the air the longest anyone's ever been in the air with a kite, which I think would be fun.
That was a great night, buddy.
That was silly, man.
How are you? Did you suffer the next day?
No, fantastic.
You're fine? Oh.
Yeah. Yesterday was, yeah, you're good. Yesterday was a mellow one.
Sorry, I didn't realise.
Hello. Good, and you?
Good.
Nice.
How is everything?
Fantastic.
You recover well from...
He's doing a video.
No, don't worry.
You're good. You're good.
Nothing happens.
It's cool. You're on TV, but it's chill. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Thank you. But with Nick, it's fun to have a compatriot in this game of how can we do the next crazy thing.
You have been traveling and kiting so much around the whole world. Where is your favorite kite spot apart from home? And of course, why do you love this kite spot so much?
Well, there are two spots that come to mind. One is the Cook Islands.
Yeah.
Aitutaki and the Cook Islands, these beautiful little islands. You take a boat from where you're staying to the kite spot and you spend the whole day on this little sandbar, and it's such a surreal experience out there. It's not super strong, but it's just perfect riding. And the place is gorgeous and the people are amazing. The food is really good, and it's one of those places where you're just like, can't not smile. And to be there, you'll have a few friends, so it's just kind of like such a cool way to experience kiting. That it just is a fun place to be. And for wave riding, Cloudbreak in Fiji. Cloudbreak, Fiji. Fiji,
okay.
There's a wave Cloudbreak there that is just perfect. Like for getting barreled with a kite, it is incredible.
Was it on chapter 1?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that wave, and it's pretty consistent. And it's consistently good for kiting. So it's a place where you can go to for a week and you're gonna get fun waves. So those two spots, if I'm gonna travel.
What size are the waves?
They go from like, you know, the spot will be fun when it's head high to I've been there and there's been 30-foot faces that are barreling. Like some of the gnarliest waves ever ridden have been there.
Wow. We have to go there.
It is mind-blowing.
So you said earlier in this interview already about your two things you will focus on, two projects. Is there anything else what you have got on upcoming projects?
Well, I've been trying to kind of do more than just another crazy stunt with kiting, because for me, like, it's been really fun and it's a cool ride, but now I'm 25, so I get to kind of look at this and be like, that was a really fun chapter. If I want to go and get a serious job, now's a good time. But I don't want to do that.
Nobody wants.
No. So I want to look at what I'm doing and how can I help the world? How can I make the world a better place? And jumping off a cliff is cool, and it helps with inspiration, but there's a lot of inspiration out there, so that shouldn't be the only thing that I do. So I've been trying to expand my brand, what I do, and help other people get better at kiteboarding more. So like I have on my web platform, on the Premier Club, now that's a big amount of what we're doing is creating content that's specific to help people get better. So I help them with training, on the water, off the water. Been doing a few more events where I actually will take people and we'll do a pretty serious training camp. And it's not just, this is how you're gonna do a kite loop. It's, this is the mindset that is gonna happen right before you do a kite loop.
Yeah.
This is the thought that is probably gonna come through your head, or you're gonna get a feeling like this. So this is how we're gonna react to that feeling. This is how we're gonna take that fear and turn that into fuel. Because it's been an incredible thing to essentially my whole life train for handling stress and fear and using that stress and fear to perform at a high level. And most people will do that in some way. So whether it's they're driving down the road and they're changing a diaper in the back seat when they're driving through city traffic, that's a stressful situation, but they crush it. And then they'll go kiting and they'll be scared. So my whole thing is, how do I take that focus and bring it into kiting? Or maybe it's with business. There's a lot of really successful business people that will crush it with their company. They'll take huge amounts of risk starting a company and playing with millions of dollars, and then they'll be scared to do a jump kiting.
Yeah.
So what I like to do is I like to analyze people like that and be like, how do we take that focus and apply it in every aspect of life? And that's kind of been understanding that dynamic and that knowledge of human psychology has been what I've been researching and now trying to create more programs out of.
Okay, so that's a little bit different to all the other guys who are doing this how-to videos right now. So you are focusing more on the mindset of people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because the breakdown of the trick is cool, and it's absolutely a part of training and getting better, but most of the people that I connect with aren't pro riders trying to learn their next trick. They're people who like to have fun, who are trying to have more fun on the water kiting, And for me, that's just having more fun in life.
Yeah.
So I get to be their fun/fear coach and analyze and be like, this is where you're hung up, because probably what's stopping you on the water is also going to be the same thing that's stopping you in another aspect of your life. So it's just analyzing what fear, where is this fear coming from, what's going on there, and how do we change it, or how do we take that and then actually have that fuel you to go and do something crazier, bigger, or have more fun with life.
Yeah. Can you tell us how it works with your Premier Club on your website? How much does it cost? How people can be a part of it?
Yep. So basically right now we're still at the infant stages of this. It's been a pleasure. I have a partner company in LA that has been helping me build all this out. And essentially the goal of it is to create a place where if people are having a question with kiting, if they're getting stuck on something, it's where they can connect with me and they can connect with the people that I'm working with to analyze it and help them get better. There'll be different options. One would be is we can simply do it virtually on the Premier Club, where hopefully I'm trying to create enough of a resource that we'll have everything there laid out. So you're like, this is my question, here's your answer, boom. And it's very simple. That's a free membership. You don't need to do anything for that. Okay. Then there's a $10 a month membership, which at this point is just being able to connect with us more. So we don't have the time to connect with everyone, but if you become one of our Premier members, then all right, we're going to actually be able to analyze what's going on with you, connect with you personally, and be like, this is how we can help you. All right, simple as that. Does that make sense? Yeah. That's more of a human-human connection. Yeah. And then we do have an exclusive membership, which I can't really say the price, and that's still a work in progress. It's not a work in progress. We're in the beta phase of trying to analyze how we can do that on a really crazy high-end scale. So that's been working with clients to do crazy things. And last year I did an event with a family, and we went out to Jaws, we did extreme free diving, we do big wave kiting, and the progression in a short amount of time is very big because we're looking at it and we're like, my goal with you is how do I get you in the craziest situation possible and then make sure you get out of there safely. Okay. So that you get to experience that kind of fear in a level where you haven't maybe felt it before, or you felt it, but it's like, here we are, this is what's going on. All right, now that's what we talked about, react. And it's an incredible experience for me to see, because the funnest thing I ever get to do is not only get to put myself in these fun situations, but I get to take people with me and share this experience, and way more fulfilling with life because now I'm actually getting to help people. Yeah. And it's...
But I think everything on the medias, doesn't matter if it's a website or it's social media, everything is about helping people, and then the crowd comes back to you again, and you have interaction and so
on. Well, if I'm not helping people, then I don't feel like I'm really doing my duty on this planet of making the world a better place, which I think we all have the duty to do. If we look at like the simplest things and we're just like, okay, we're either making it better or we're making it worse. Yeah. So I think every day we need to consistently try and make it better. And if everyone does that, it's going to be an incredible world. And there's so many people doing that. And that's where it's a two-part thing. It's, okay, yes, I'm going to try and inspire people to continue to do that. But I'm also want to work with people personally or virtually. Okay. So whether it's just online, is cool, but if it gets to the point where I'm like, yes, let's work personally, it's incredible.
Very, very cool, and I think very right.
Thank you, I appreciate it. It's fun.
Yeah, it's always a great idea to use your kind of popularity and your fame and skills for making the world a better place.
Absolutely. And that's what I looked at. I was like, wait, what am I doing? Like, I had that realization over the last few years of, okay, like being really cool and awesome and doing crazy things, like, who cares? okay, it's about what we do with that. So if I can take that and then actually push cooler things into the world, it's like, wow, that's awesome. Like, as the simplest thing is, I think I realized that when I did my first beach cleanup. I went down to the beach, I was like, this beach there's so much trash. And I was like, I'll create a Facebook event. Boom, 20 minutes, maybe 10 minutes to create the Facebook event, invite everyone on Maui. And I go down to the beach like that weekend, and we had 50 or 70 people. And I'm like, okay, like, that's more than enough. And it took, okay, 2 hours of work goes from 2 hours to 140 hours with that many people. So you're like, we just did so much. And all it took was 20 minutes of my time just to make that happen. That's where I was like, okay, let's have some fun with this. How can we continue to do that? How can I take what I have and make the world a better place with it?
That's really cool.